Good morning, everyone. Welcome to all of our guests here from Del Norte High School. Thanks for coming. And welcome to the Albuquerque Convention Center, which is the 2020 Indoor Track Capital of the World. My name is Dave Simon. I'm the Director of the Parks and Recreation Department for the City of Albuquerque. Very pleased for you to join us here this morning as we discuss what will be one of the most exciting indoor track seasons ever, particularly in Albuquerque. We have several speakers who will be discussing the indoor track season and some of its highlights this year. And those speakers will be in order: our Mayor Tim Keller, Tanya Armenta, President and CEO of Visit Albuquerque, Brian Osterloh, President of USATF New Mexico, the Track Association, and coach of the UNM Cross Country Track and Field team, Joe Franklin. Without further ado, I give you our Mayor athlete, Tim Keller.
All right, well, good morning. I am tempted to try a little long jump. I tried it once at the UNM track a couple of years ago, and I barely made it to the dirt. So I'm also a little, it's probably too far gone to actually do that. So we'll skip that today, but I have a couple of things to share with you. One, some fun facts. Two, a little bit of policy. And so first, let me do some thank yous. I want to thank the entire Visit ABQ team, and especially CEO Tanya Armenta, who helped put this together, but also Angie and Angela. Great job putting this all together. Let's give them a round of applause. We also have lots of folks from the Visit ABQ Sports Commission. I think there's a couple of others here maybe. Thanks so much for the commission. And we have, as Brian mentioned, introduced a couple of folks, but we've got our UNM head coach, some of his team here, and also students from Del Norte. Thank you so much for hanging out with Visit ABQ and Junior Achievement for organizing this. Let's give Junior Achievement a round of applause. So one thing we have learned at Albuquerque is that our team, the combination of the Convention Center, SMG, and the great team here, along with Visit ABQ and the City of Albuquerque staff, we have demonstrated recently especially that we can really pull off big events, Senior Games being the biggest defining example of that. And we are sharing today that, of course, we have another big one in town. So this is, of course, the NCAA Indoor Championships. And we're going to tell you a little bit about this program, but here's some fun facts. It's televised on national TV on NBC. That in and of itself tells you how big a deal this is. Also, every hotel room is sold out at very high rates. That's what we like to hear. So, and I mention that also because of some policy aspects of this. You know, folks might remember there's always a debate over what we do with our lodgers tax, how we're doing on tourism. I want to remind folks we are doing great on tourism, which is why we have extra lodgers tax, and we are investing that lodgers tax in a spectrum of programs. Some of it has to do with continuing to fix up the convention center. Some of it has to do with spreading out tourism throughout town. That has to do with our softball tournaments that we're going to be refocusing out at Los Altos. It has to do with our baseball tournaments that we do out on the west side. And our partners at the county are going to enable us to hold huge soccer tournaments at the 23-field location we're building out at Mesa del Sol. So we've got lots of good facilities and lots of good capacity for tournament tourism. Specifically, though, I do want to mention this track. This was a bit of a controversial lodgers tax piece last time, and want to let folks know it's an amazing track, but our city council already committed to replacing this with a world-class track for the next 10 years. And so we're in the process of working on that, and that's going to enable us to continue to have events like this for the next decade. So I think with that, I do want to mention that this program in general is expected to inject at least $1 million into the economy. That's just direct spending, that's not indirect, which will be much higher. So I think with that, let me actually hand it off to some of the experts involved with this, starting with the CEO of Visit ABQ, Tanya Armenta. Tanya?
big thanks to the mayor for his partnership and leadership, along with all of the city administration and, as was mentioned, city council as well, for their ongoing support. This really has been a 15-year venture here in Albuquerque. When the new track was introduced here, we have hosted world-class athletes here for a number of years. This year is a phenomenal year in terms of what's going to happen here next weekend. The USATF Indoor Championships will take place. As the mayor described, we have Friday and Saturday. Part of that component of that event is nationally televised coverage of Albuquerque, so really an exciting opportunity. There will be Olympians here participating that you will see later this summer at the Summer Olympics. We've had world records broken here, American records broken here, so both our high altitude, this particular track, the overall service from all of the combined partners, and really our local expertise has made this really a phenomenal place for these track events. And I want to highlight the local expertise because that's actually why USATF Indoor Championships is coming back to Albuquerque. They had a one-year departure from Albuquerque. I think they were reminded what the service and the expertise that existed in Albuquerque, and they're really anxious to be back in Albuquerque. So it's just going to be a phenomenal event next weekend with the USATF Indoor Championships. And then fast forward a month from that, we're hosting the NCAA Division I Championships. And so the best collegiate athletes will be here in Albuquerque participating. And so when we think about the benefits of these events, there's just so many benefits that come from this. It's first the inspiration and the aspiration that comes from having this level of world-class athletes here in Albuquerque for our youth. Many of who are here with us today, but also our residents to experience that. It's a really phenomenal opportunity for us. Secondly, we're going to be on a high-profile stage where we are sharing Albuquerque with the world. And so that's something that we know as we continue to increase awareness of this place. We don't want it to be a hidden secret how amazing this place is. And so events like this give us that opportunity to showcase Albuquerque. And then the third thing, of course, is the economic benefits. So as the mayor mentioned, the two events between USATF Indoor Championships and the NCAAs will bring over $1.5 million in direct spending. And I can tell you that's a very conservative number. So those are some of the reasons why these events are so important to Albuquerque, why the investment and the continued leadership and support of these events is so important. I want to say a quick shout out to our team. Mayor mentioned several of them. I just want to say thank you to Krista McGrath, our VP, to Angie Jepson, to Angela Gandy, and the entire team from both the Sports Commission and our office that dedicates so much time to these events to make sure they're successful, along with the partnership. As the mayor mentioned, it's the City of Albuquerque, it's ASM Global, it is UNM, and so many others that make this possible. So I want to thank them. And with that, I think truly talking about experts, I have the opportunity to introduce someone who his leadership and his volunteerism for Albuquerque has made all of really these USA Track and Field events possible. And that is the president of USA Track and Field, the New Mexico chapter, Brian Osterloh.
Thank you very much. I'd like to think that I made it all possible. I didn't. Mayor often talks about one Albuquerque, and it really does apply. For these events, it applies in these situations. This would not be possible if it weren't for Visit Albuquerque, for the Sports Commission, for the Parks and Rec Department. I know several of the team members who put together this track every year, take it down. They love this track. They care for it as if it were their own, because it is their own. It's your own. This belongs to all of us. And thankfully, we have the opportunity to see tremendous excellence on display here every spring, and especially this spring. There will be Olympians. There will be future Olympians. There may be world records. We've had two set here. One of them is still intact. The 60-meter dash world record by Christian Coleman is still intact. The world women's indoor pole vault record was set here and then reset by the same athlete, I think a year or two later. Athletes love this track. USA Track and Field, I can tell you from speaking with many of the people in the national office, they love coming here. As Tanya mentioned, they love the service they get from the staff. They love the commitment they get from the volunteers. They love the facility. I love it because I get a chance to be out here amongst the excellence. I get a chance to play a role in that. Even more, I love it because it makes an impact on our community. I can tell you that our membership has grown in USATF New Mexico by about 60% since we started hosting national champions here back in 2010. I can tell you that the feedback I get from athletes, and especially young athletes who come and fill these stands during the collegiate meets and during the USATF meets, is tremendous. They're proud of Albuquerque. They see that because Albuquerque is hosting this and they are part of Albuquerque, they can be part of it too. There is no better benefit for our community than to give young people the idea that they can be at the top of the heap. They can be the excellence that they're seeing at these meets. I think more important, though, than me talking is talking to another expert, and that really goes beyond me being an expert. I'm not sure I am. But I do know what again, excellence looks like. There's no greater program of excellence in track and field in this state than is the University of New Mexico's cross country and track and field program. National champions in cross country, women's, twice. I don't think they've been out of the top 10 for roughly 3 centuries. It's something along those lines. Continued excellence. They bring in top programs to the collegiate meets, and I know what it takes to put on a meet of these sizes. They do it on a consistent basis every year. They do it for several weekends every spring. I encourage everybody to come out and spectate at the meets. If you're interested in volunteering, I'm sure Visit Albuquerque would love to hear from you. But let me just introduce the coach of the University of New Mexico Track and Field Cross Country Program, Joe Franklin.
Thank you, Brian. With me today is Kira Mones, our assistant coach, and Jade Ellis, our assistant coach as well. This is a unique partnership with the City of Albuquerque, Parks and Rec, and the Convention Center. It is unique in that you have multiple groups striving for the same common goal, and that's to put on world-class events. Many years ago, I went to the NCAA Division II committee prior to us hosting our first major championship here, and I held up my hand like this and said 5. They looked at me like I was crazy. Albuquerque and this venue are very unique. We are 5 minutes from the airport. We are a 5-minute walk to the venue. We're a 5-minute walk or drive to some of the best restaurants in the world. There is no other location like this in the United States. We travel all across the country at track meets. We may be 30 minutes from the venue. We may have to drive to Applebee's to eat. Here, you have what makes Albuquerque and New Mexico unique. Great hospitality. This venue is paramount for our success. Our students don't have to travel during indoors. The best come to us. As a result, our teams have above a 3.4 GPA with 80 people. We're not missing class. When we go to the NCAA Championships in a month from now, we'll be at home with some students at the University of New Mexico having an opportunity to win a national championship at home with the backing of the state of New Mexico. We will wear turquoise with pride, and we will give it our all. These events are also unique in that these events will book over 7,000 hotel room nights in Albuquerque. That's massive. This weekend alone, we have about 1,000 athletes, and then there's an open meet afterwards. Again, the partnership benefits everybody. Again, I'd like, most importantly, to thank Parks and Rec, the City of Albuquerque, and the Convention Center, because this is what makes New Mexico great. And I'll turn it back over to Dave.
Thank you, Coach. Go Lobos! I do also want to recognize, as the coach and Brian mentioned, the Parks and Rec staff who year after year, take care of this track and facility, work with the convention center and UNM to assemble this track and prepare it for world-class competition. So that group's led by Stephen Madrid, who's our chief track engineer. And due to the mayor's leadership, the support of the city council, and the lodger's tax generated by our guests in Albuquerque, I think we're all looking forward to, and no one more than Stephen, we're looking forward to getting a brand new track here for you to take care of by the 2021 indoor track season. So we're very, very excited about that. If there are any questions for any of the speakers, we could take a couple of those, if there are any. Okay, well, you see it right here. It's the world's fastest indoor track, and that's what we're going to see over the next month. Hopefully we're going to see some fantastic competition and maybe a world record or two. Please come back and enjoy the competition. Thank you for being here this morning.